How's it going today? Today we're going to talk about the July stock picks I picked 3 months ago, and it's been a bruiser. It's been pretty bad for these stocks, which I said in the video that these stocks I look out 3 years. So essentially, and I said not to put your whole life savings in these companies because these stocks are basically swinging for the fences, and they took a bruiser. I mean, they took a hit. I mean, they really did. A really kind of a poor performance on a lot of these. For no reason, really. I mean, maybe good reason, maybe bad reason. I'm going to get into it more. The S&P was actually down 2%, so essentially, thank God for that. It makes me feel a little better about myself when the market's down and my stocks are down. Now, if the market was up 10% and these stocks are down like they are, maybe I need to get better at doing this. But anyway, we're going to get right into it. I'm going to talk about them, name them all first. Waste Management was one. It's only up 0.2%. So essentially not even 1%. And the other one, Upwork was one. It's down 14%. And Uber, I mean, we all know what happened to Uber. It's down over 34%. So essentially it's been basically someone took an axe to it. They threw away the hammers and got the axe for Uber. But anyway, so essentially we're going to get waste management, basically the same thing as it was. It's done well. It took a hit like with the market. So actually it's been beating the market. So essentially, which ain't saying much when the market is down for some reason. 2%, because my portfolio peaked out in late July, then it took a hammered in August because of the trade war. And I think the trade war is just dragging everything down with it. So essentially, and that's the thing with Waste Management also getting hit because of the trade war. I don't really understand why. I think the market's just selling, and they're just selling everything. And I think they're trying to maybe take profits on a lot of the high growth. So they, when you're a portfolio manager, you have to think. You have to put your mind in a portfolio manager. They have bosses that go nag them and beat them down and fire them. They're fretting for their jobs. So essentially, that's why the market kind of sells down a lot with these portfolio managers, because they got a boss right over them. I mean, Peter Lynch's book, One Up on Wall Street, talked heavily on that. And it's kind of an advantage the average person doesn't, because I don't have a boss over me yelling at me to meet the numbers. You got to meet the numbers regardless of, and that can actually hurt them in the long term. And that's why a lot of mutual funds, they don't really perform well. They just might as well just give it to an S&P 500. And that's why mutual funds, because you got some guy yelling at you, telling you, hey, you need to meet the numbers. And then they go sell things when they shouldn't sell them, but they do it because the market's selling it off. And then, it's so much negative things around them, and then they sell them because they don't want to make the numbers look bad, but they think the company might be good, but who cares? The boss is yelling at me, so I'm going to do what they say. So essentially that's what happens in these markets, especially for the next couple stocks. I mean, it's so many negative around them. But anyway, jumping into the next one is Upwork. Upwork is like a freelance, basically a company that hooks up. Let's say you use a company. Let's say you need someone to design a t-shirt for you, but you don't know how to use Photoshop. You go on there on Upwork, say, hey, I need this job. You post a job. A freelancer come in, help you, and they take a commission off that. So essentially, that's how Upwork works, which I think is a growing thing. I think everybody should have a side hustle, something they do on the side. Don't rely solely on your job. You're going to get killed if you do that. You work yourself to death. Hopefully, you can find a way to make passive income through investing, real estate, doing anything online, websites. I mean, I made a website and stuff, and then sold it a couple years ago with Shopify. So essentially, just doing things on side. Upwork makes it possible for that. Getting people out there. So let's say you don't know how to. Let's say you want to start a Shopify store, but you don't know how to. You want to design a T-shirt, but you don't know how to do it. You know what I mean? You can hire someone from Upwork. Maybe a web designer or something like that could just help him. Maybe if you are skilled, maybe post something on there. Maybe if you know how to do something, whatever that skill might be, especially if you have a degree in anything, especially coding, degree in that. There's a lot of people that need a lot of help, and you get a job on there, maybe a freelance thing. You got a job here, but then you do this on the side. I mean, like Uber driver and stuff like that, getting onto that next. But that kind of that gig economy, that's what that's playing off. It's down 14%. Small company, though, so I still recommend it. I think it's just getting hammered because Why not? Some of these companies are just getting hit for no reason, and it's kind of stupid. You know what I mean? The market does that sometimes. They don't like these unprofitable companies sometimes. And let me and Upwork is one of these companies that's profitable because the business is growing. They're dumping a lot of money into it. So gross margins are actually up and looking good, but it's all about the bottom line, and there's some accounting things. So essentially, basically the way to look at it, you have your revenue, your cost of revenue, and then you have your gross. So essentially what that is basically all that. But let's say you're spending then the research and development and other stuff that's below that. So essentially, and that's where all the money's going to. So essentially, when you look on an income statement, always look at that. So essentially, you go, oh man, this company is heavily unprofitable. What the hell is going on? Well, then you look at the research and development and go, okay, it's developing its website. It's trying to get more people on their platform. And that's okay, because they can cut that cost. So essentially it'd be like, let's say you have a lemonade stand, and this is going on a tangent, but let's say it's going on a lemonade stand, you're building this, you have your lemonade stand, you made $20 off of it. And then you don't take that to hit the bottom line, your net income. You take that $20 and maybe build another thing, and then maybe be unprofitable. But really, in the long term, you go build up your revenue, and the top line growth will keep going up, and then eventually you go let it trickle down to the bottom line. But anyway, that's what Upwork, and the next stock is Uber. That Uber is doing other things too. So essentially, I think Uber is one of these things. I feel like everybody hates it for no apparent reason. You know what I mean? I think it's a good company. A lot of people like it. I think it's almost like Facebook. I remember when Facebook IPO'd way back when I wasn't even actually kind of in investing. I mean, I was still way back in the day. I think it was around 2011, but I remember hearing about and paying attention to it because I was kind of into stock market, but I actually wasn't buying stocks at the time. I remember Facebook got hit 50%. So essentially, and nobody liked it because it was unprofitable. It was this tech company led by this founder-led guy named Mark Zuckerberg. He didn't know what he was doing. It was unprofitable fad, and they bashed him and bashed him and bashed him. And the stock got hit 50%. You can look that up. Look up Facebook IPO. Way back when it was unprofitable. It was a horrible business. I think it was almost $500 million in the hole. So essentially it was losing money, but it still had a great balance sheet. So essentially there was no real reason to do that, but they were spending a lot on developing it, getting it out there, developing it so they can boot ads. So if you really were smart, you would have almost kind of bought it. I mean, way back when then, I mean, it's up 10 times from that level. So essentially you put $1,000, you're sitting on well over $10,000. I mean, it's up over, it's been a spectacular pick over the long term. But I think maybe Uber, maybe not that much. But Uber, I believe at these levels, I mean, it's almost a buy almost to my opinion. Because like I said, if you look at the income statement, the gross profits are there, but then they're spending a lot of money in researching, development, and they're just trying to develop this thing, get it out here so everybody gets in here. And their opinion, their CEO goes, our product is good. We like our products, and we want to get this product out to everyone. So essentially everybody wants to use Uber. So essentially you use Uber and go, you know what? That was pretty good. I like Uber Eats. I like this. Okay, I like the whole platform. And they want to create an ecosystem or like that. It's kind of like Apple, you know what I mean? They're developing these phones and stuff like that, and they get them in this ecosystem, and they can keep spending money for Uber, because once you get it, it's just kind of marketing. It's kind of how it works with Uber. So essentially, they're spending a lot of money with it, and they can honestly cut all that. And actually, I don't think they should. I think they still grow. And there was a lot of people saying Uber's going to go bankrupt. They're not going to go bankrupt anytime soon. They actually have more cash on their balance sheet than their current liabilities. So essentially, they're not going to go bankrupt unless they flub up and do a horrible thing. But anyway, just because it's losing money, long as it can't go bankrupt, it might go out of business before it goes bankrupt. But it can't go bankrupt if it has no debt. So essentially, unless there's some big changes, it makes some investments, but it would almost be self-destructive. And anyway, so Uber, I still like Uber right now at these levels. Actually, I might buy more. I mean, at these levels, I mean, it's it's almost maybe a bargain almost. I mean, these companies, and I believe as we go forward with self-driving cars, 10 years down the line, I think you're going to wish you bought Uber or Lyft or either one. I believe Uber is the leader, so that's why I'll pick Uber. But Lyft is also a contender of that one too. So anyway, that's all. That's my stocks for you for this week. It's down. I got the numbers. So if you would have bought the S&P, you'd be sitting on it's you'd be sitting on $2,991 versus my picks. You'd be sitting on $2,624. So essentially almost a $300 difference. But I believe Uber. This is I always think 3 years down the line, I believe Uber probably will continue to go. I mean, it might go down a little bit, get all the hate out, get all this people, then I believe Uber is going to get some upgrades here soon or whenever, and I believe people would go, you know what, this is a good company, it's doing well, I like what it's doing. A lot of people like Uber and they use Uber every day, so essentially that's what you have to look at. No business will go out of business if they have good balance sheet and people like it. So essentially you always have to think, what about the customers? Do they like it? Now if they hate it, it might be a Kraft Heinz where people don't like hot dogs and cheese, processed meats and stuff like that. Look, Kraft Heinz not doing very well, But anyway, that's all I gotta say for the July picks. Hopefully you're holding and buying and you didn't sell out. Hopefully, and you just keep holding them. But anyway, I wouldn't put your whole life savings on them anyway, because you never know. But anyway, thank you for watching and thank you.